Hey there, I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview of what you can do with SPSS, which is the statistical software that we have in all the computers in the labs. They only make it for PCs though, they don't do it for Macs, so I was just going to show you some of the things that you can do with it and give you a little walkthrough using my old data set from my dissertation. Okay. Basically, the little program is just this thing with a little sigma on it. I've got mine on a thumb drive, but it's a pretty big file, so it'll probably be on someone's desktop. But basically, if you open it, it's going to ask if you want to open a new file or create a new one and enter data. And basically, what you've got is two screens. This might be cut off right here, but this over here is the data view, and this over here is the variable view. Right now we're looking at the variable view, and basically like what you can do, and a lot of software programs, I don't know if SurveyMonkey does it specifically, but programs like Qualtrics will actually give you an SPSS file with all of your variables in it already, so you can just go ahead and download that and start manipulating it. My data set looks a little weird just because I had so many questions on my survey. I think I had like 150, so a lot of them are really long. So the first thing you need to look at, and you can kind of see like this is a question, if it'll expand. Let me see if I can widen it out a little bit. Rank the importance of these items, most important, 8 least important, so on. So you can see how my questions are kind of fitting in here. But one of the first things you need to think about is what type of data am I using? Am I using, oh, there's my whole question popping up. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. But over here you've got what type of measure you have. And for these I have scale because I'm using one of those interval scales where it's a Likert of 1 is never, 2 is rarely, 3 is neutral, 4 is sometimes, 5 is always. And why this is important is because depending on what type of data you have your question or item set to, it will only allow you to perform certain statistical tests. So if I have ordinal data or nominal data, say these are like the participant's age or name or something that they have actually typed in themselves where they're not picking a choice, it will not let me do more advanced statistical tests like t-tests if I want to compare groups or similar things like that. So setting this to the right thing will help figure those things out. We mentioned briefly that every answer that is an interval or ratio style question has to be given a number. So let me scooch down a little bit. This would be rating the importance of something. If you click here, you can see where I have assigned a number to each answer that the person could have had on their Likert scale. So they were filling this out, and basically SPSS will assign this number, and that will let you calculate those different weights. And basically you can just, like, if I had a 6, I could do that and label it and add it in. If I had a 7 scale, like it or not. So now I'm going to go over to the data view and show you how you can compute some of these answers. Basically I am going to go up, I wish that my bar was a little bit higher, but basically it's just set up kind of like Word, View, Data, Transform, Analyze, Direct Marketing, Graphs. Analyze will be the one that you use most, and the one that the book talks about most in chapter 11 for I is describing quantitative datas, and the main thing you're going to be using with this will just be frequency tables. So if you go over to descriptive statistics and frequencies and click on that, typically you end up reporting your mean, median, mode, standard deviation, those types of things for each variable, which is each item, each question that you have in your survey. So let's just look at, I had a question on which US region do you live in. So I'm just going to highlight this, click this little arrow, and that will put it in the variable aspect. So it's asking what US region do you work, and then I can choose which statistics I want to run. So the book talked about the mean, the median, and mode. I'm going to go ahead and throw in the standard deviation, and the other things we don't really need to know right now. Hit continue. If I want this to be in chart form, I can just hit charts. Let's do a pie chart just because we are going to be looking at percentages of a whole. So out of all my responses, what percent said that they're from the Northeast or from this area? So I can do continue and then go ahead and run. And then SPSS will give you this little output that you can then tweak a little bit if you want to change the colors, or like I'll show you what I did with my dissertation in a second. But this is just what you're running up here. So these are the statistics that are being run: standard deviation, mean, median, mode. And it's kind of a little bit like HTML where these are just code that you use. So if I wanted to do this with another variable, I could just cut and paste this into the next variable if I didn't want to click through it all through again. It'll take a minute to spit out the answers. It's still thinking about the chart. This has given me my mean, median, and mode. I think I had 9 different regions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. These don't really work very well with this question just because it's asking different areas. So your book talks a little bit about like when's it good to use the median, when's it good to use the mode, and so on. So this probably wouldn't be a great example, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. But it gives you this chart, and I've divided the US into these different segments based on how the US has been divided into regions culturally. So I've got New England, the Mid-Atlantic, South Atlantic, East, North, Central, so on. And basically it says, okay, you had 510 people respond to this question, and 51 people live in the Pacific region, 47 live here, and basically, like, I had a total of 580 people take the survey, but only 510 responded to this particular question. So 4 gave me no answer, and then 66 must have been a glitch or something like that. But these are the ones that are missing. So out of this percent, I got an 88% response rate for this question. And the second column for this valid percent just calculates, you'll see how this number is a little bit bigger. It's because like they're taking this as the 100% and just doing, okay, out of 510 answers, 2.7% said that they live in more than one area. 10% say that they live in the Pacific, and so on. And that just adds up to the cumulative percent. We also asked for a pie chart. So this isn't that helpful with this question, but it is showing the percent of a whole. So what I ended up doing in my dissertation is I grabbed a map of the US and just transposed those numbers that I had gotten from the cumulative percent, and then used color coding to give people a better picture of like what states am I talking about, where did 10% come from. And basically what I was using with this graph was I was comparing to prior studies that had been conducted on these on my sample and saying, hey, my breakdown of fundraisers by region matches that of prior studies, and that helped me with my reliability argument by saying, you know, I'm probably pulling the same types of people and they're probably answering similarly to before. So those are just ways you can build it into your argument. And there's just a ton of other things we can do with SPSS, and I'll show you later as we get into the more sophisticated variable comparisons. Like we could say, okay, do men and women statistically significantly answer to this question differently? But we're not at that point yet. We will be in a week or two. But I'll show you that as we go and just give you guys some other little tips. And I'm going to try and get us into a lab so you can play around with this. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what you can do with this and show you what it looks like.